session that is on the topic Integrated Data Analytics and AI in Action, taking shared services to the next level. For this, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Kartik Nagarajan from Nexdigm. Giving a brief introduction for Mr. Kartik, he leads the global sales and business services at Nexdigm. He is also responsible for operations and related services for business consulting, supply chain, and intelligent automation and accelerated analytics practices. With over 2 decades of experience in business process management, he has successfully built and managed global captives and shared service operations, accelerated revenue, and delivered ROI to stakeholders in IT, business process outsourcing, media, and insurance. He has also held multiple country head positions during his tenure with organizations like HCL, WNS, 𝗬𝗏, and WPP. With this, please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. I think a couple of key things that I want to cover today is in terms of where we are, right? I mean, obviously, I had the opportunity of serving large captives, large shared services, etc. But even we all know, right? Captive is, we are there because of our parent organization, right? So if you look at the parent organization, and most of these captives, shared services, GICs, GCCs are all, we can put it in the bucket of Fortune 500, right? Most of these. So how does that entire thing is traversing the last 15 odd years? If you look at some of the stats, right? 50% of the Fortune 500 list, the names, have actually disappeared in the last 20 odd years. Actually not even in the business, right? So if they're not in the business, then you know what's going to happen to us, right? So therefore, that's one broad spectrum that we always have to be mindful of. Second, in terms of, there are a lot of changes that's happening, right? Why things are changing? Because the business dynamic is changing, the customer expectations are different, market scenario is changing, so a lot of changes happening, right? So with that, I would want to quickly touch upon where we are today. What is the transition phase relating to the subject that is being given, which is analytics and AI and automation? And what are some of the challenges we all will face in times to come? So look at some of the stats, right? When we all started this GCC shared services, we all know it would have primarily FNA, right? Then HR came, procurement, IT, etc. The one thing that is still kind of lagging behind as a center of excellence or as a GCC is automation, right? And analytics primarily. We are all thriving towards it, but when you look at the stats of 23% of GCs have implemented analytics, it's not where it's supposed to be, right? However, when we look at some of the RPA stats, at least most of us are attempted. I'm not saying successfully done it. That's not how it is. We attempted successfully doing RPA, right? 68% of us have done it. And then the other thing is there are multiple ERPs because of M&As, right? We keep buying out companies. So at a single instance, you have multiple ERPs. So you're not able to get a single version of truth. So you have to struggle, right? So even to solve that problem, people have attempted, and obviously cloud AWS, right? We all know the value of cloud that brings to the table. So with that, if ultimate goal for us, right, as a GCC is to provide exceptional customer-centric experience to both our parent organization and to the end customer, what are some of the things we're already doing? We are already focusing more on program and transition management. It is run-of-the-mill, very important, because we have to transition more processes, more work to our GCCs. That's something we need to be good at. Process excellence, very important, because we need to keep evolving the new process. Even if you have to attempt RPA, process is something we need to be really mindful. We have to prepare ourselves for the future. Reporting, I think we invest a lot of time there, right? All of us, I'm sure we have dedicated teams, yet if there is a requirement from the US and the UK or some of the parent organization, we need 5-7 more working days, sometimes even the weekends, right? So reporting is our attempt, but we are still not there. RPA and automation, like I said, I think because of our ability to look at processes, our skills that we're investing, future skilled labor, at least RPA and automation, I would comfortably say most of us are there at L1, if not L5, right? We're already there, I feel. So with that, what is the transition, right? The outcome of digital maturity. Obviously, this is a source of some of the research organizations that gave me, is there is they call it a top-notch GCC, and then there are others, right? So top-notch GCCs, basically, they would like to invest on hiring and training future skilled labor, right? be it in terms of automation, be it in terms of SMEs, be it in terms of analytics. They are heavily investing on that. An outcome of that investment is where you clearly see a lot of innovation happening when it is important about the strategic impact that a GCC is bringing to the parent organization. Because the new value jargon is what is the strategic impact a GCC is able to deliver to the parent organization, be it in terms of competitive analysis, be it in terms of valuations, be it in terms of M&A. Gone are the days people are only talking about transaction, cost arbitrage. It's like that conversation was 20 years back, right? It's not now. So if some of us are still on that, I think time to wake up. The strategic impact is also about how relevant is your parent organization in the industry. Are you part of, do you have a seat in the board? Let's start with that, right? That's a strategic impact one has to deliver. And some of the top-notch GCCs have already done it successfully, which means the future CFOs of the organization have been from the GCCs, which means the chief marketing officer of the future organization have been from the GCCs. So that's a kind of strategic impact we're talking about here. So because of that, if you look at some of the stats, right, of those top-notch GCCs, 51% of those have got a ROI in all their digital initiatives already. 45% have improved their operational metrics and converted operational metrics to business metrics, the outcome-based one. So these are some of the things I thought we all should know. Now, when we look at, therefore, the one key messaging that all of us would always be looking at, the development of capabilities, right? So most of us have heavily invested in capability building, capability development, starting with the talent. And when we talk about talent, it is very clear. We're talking about not only getting the future skilled, sorry? Okay, no, I thought, okay. We're not only getting the skills for future, but also training them and ensuring that they're integrated with the business, right? From a GCC's perspective, let's say if you're part of the, I'm just taking it, the healthcare industry, right? A lot of disruptions already happened in the healthcare. So disruptions also about how there is an outreach to the end customer, how there is an outreach to the distributors. So GCC has a lot to play in terms of hiring the talent to help the outreach grow through its branding exercise, through its sales, through its analytics, and a lot of things. So that's one thing that come on the top. Innovation is the key of constantly getting the sponsorship from the parent organization, hiring a good talent, and spacing out the expectations of how the delivery will look like. Because it's not only getting the budget, hiring the right talent, training them, but also the expectation setting has to be there. Because innovation can't be timed out. You cannot say in the next 3 months, I'm going to come with a world-class idea. It might take 6 months, 9 months, and therefore it is also important that one has to be getting all these activities through capability development with the parent organization. It has to be well integrated, right? So most of the time what happens is our GCC is kind of siloed in its own sense, right? Be it in terms of infrastructure, location planning, etc. But we need to get into the integration of capability development through our parent organization. So if they are part of the entire exercise, entire journey, the more integrated you make, the better outcomes you will return, right? And obviously there are other topics that I just want to quickly touch upon is the penetration, operating model, and breadth and depth of services. We need to keep evolving on the different kind of services we are providing to our end customers through our parent organization. That should be one goal. Second, in terms of the operating model, we need to be now prepared more for the future, right? One of the things that obviously is digital transformation. So we need to be supportive of the changes that the parent organization is bringing. The second is the analytics, right? So those are the things that the way we are structuring our operating model will get us great results. When you look at analytics maturity curve, right? And this is where I'm sure we all are some part of the curve here, right? The starting point of the curve, I would say, in terms of analytics is not only hiring the right talent, but also understanding what is the requirement of our business, right? Is the requirement of business talking about the future? Or is it dissecting the past and learning something out of it? Or is the requirement a ready-made dashboard, right? So we need to understand the requirement, and I'm sure each department will have different requirements in times to come. So the curve of our maturity is based on our understanding of the requirement. Based on that, we make investment, plus the training part of it, right? After a point, I would say, be it the tools that we have, R, Python, Power BI, etc., there has to be a self-help tool that we need to create so that the business should not even come to a GCC. It should be a self-help to say, if I need these kind of 4 or 5 dashboards and reports month on month, day on day, we will create it and the data is auto-populated. So that should be the step number one, that we have to create a value to our parent organization. The second is the predictive one, wherein we work with the business, understand where they are in terms of the market, what are the market dynamics, where we are in terms of competitive study, and then start adding value. So these level of integrations where we will come up the analytics maturity curve. Last but not the least, how do we accept the future? The future is beyond analytics and can go to algorithms also, wherein you would not need a lot of people, the machine does everything on its own, and so on and so forth. But for that, the starters today, we all know where we are in this curve, and then we need to make a lot of selling into our parent organization, and also get them integrated into our overall thing. Integration is the key here, more than investment. If you are very well integrated, even at the planning process with your parent organization, the chance of you going successful very, very high. These are some of the things, so sorry, I think it's just not, yeah, I think it's going backwards, is it? Maybe, yes. I've been hearing this term in the last at least 6 months in terms of creating a workforce for the future-ready analytics work, right? And it's a hybrid model, because either you have techies who understand data and they can give you solutions, or you have SMEs who actually understand your business day in, day out, 30 years experience. They exactly can tell you, this is the distributor is not going to be a business, the market is going to change, the future is going to be this. So we need an integrated workforce in times to come, and that's a very difficult task. However, that's what analytics is all about, right? We get a pool of SMEs, we start training them in analytics, and vice versa, to create that batch who will be ready for the future, who will be able to not only understand the business dynamics, but also try and help you with the data insights, predictive modeling, etc. So, and there are many terms people use for hybrid analytics workforce. People call it busy analytics or whatever. But we need to now start investing on some of those workforce for our organizations, so that we are able to contribute to the business directly. If you don't do this, then we are as simple as a transaction workforce, and that's not going to be setting up for the future, right? So that's not futuristic. So where we would like to be, right? So one of the challenges that all of us are facing today in deploying automation is the technical complexity. And when you look at technical complexity, it could be many, right? So how do you integrate data from 4 ERPs? How do you put a very simple GST in an Indian environment covering 3 ERPs? How do you get the data from multiple databases and automate? And there are multiple permutation combinations, right? Multiple ERPs, multiple softwares, multiple way of reading emails. So that provides a lot of complexity, and that's a big challenge that all of us are grappling already, right? So that's something we have to solve. The second is the siloed automation. I think when we do automation, sometimes it's also about our vendors, right? Vendors will say, I will only be able to do it quick wins, and the quick wins could be T&E. Even a T&E in a smaller aspect is a good win. You're able to go back to your parent organization, show some immediate success, but that should be disregarded, I would say, because you need to have an approach of minimum 3 to 5 years for automation, right? So even from the deployment till a first phase of success, it's not going to happen before 12 to 18 months, minimum, right? So if you're not able to make this entire concept sell to your parent organization, soon we'll all will be in the same state to say we have promised big, but the results are not coming. And the only reason why, it's because of siloed automation, right? We need to have a full end-to-end perspective. Ownership of automation is very important, because automation is not only about GCCs, it's about the overall organization. I just talked to one of my fellow colleagues here during the lunch session. So they're very clear that in their organization, the automation is not about GCC, it's for the entire organization. So GCC is part of the automation. I think that way the ownership lies to all the key critical business stakeholders and the GCC. Difficulty in scaling up from initial success, I think that will go, and that's something that we all have to find our way in terms of changing business rules, changing technology, changing expectation, but that's something we will solve. So all in all, I would say if we can focus on solving the top two in terms of siloed automation and technical complexity, we're up for a successful automation, I would say. This is how the overall digital transformation pie chart will look like, right? At the heart of digital transformation, we need the leadership, sponsorship, and the culture. So it's not about one department, it's not about one GCC. The entire organization needs to embrace the digital transformation, and there are two facets of it. One side, we're talking about the pure play automation created through workflow, through ERPs, through steps of the process. On the other side of automation, we are talking about data, pure data, right? So data and technology have to come hand in hand to give you that culture, to give you that kind of outcome, right? When we look at the mining part of it, right? Let's say communication mining. The communication mining basically starts with emails, right? The day-to-day emails that then goes into the workflow, that then goes into automation. So these three form a major part of the transformation that we need to start selling internally and to our parent organization. Similarly, when we look at analytics, in all our organization, the biggest problem that we face in analytics is there are desperate data, right? Data is not clean. So the majority of time that we take today is cleansing the data, right? Is putting the structure to the data so that we are able to make something out of it. After the cleansing is when we are able to get those into our respective tools, get some automation going, and then the dashboarding will start. So the latter part in terms of the predictive analytics starts after we get into the first dashboard in the practice. So I would say for us to have an overall digital transformation as a culture, we need to have this imbibed in every department, every employee, even the vendors. Even the vendors, because if the vendors are not going to be supportive of your initiative, then again somewhere it's going to fall, right? This is how the AnalyticsCOE for GCs looks like. So we have three pillars: people, process, and technology. Like I said, in terms of people, we need domain experts, we need project managers, we need business analysts. Obviously, the data scientists and engineers are the one who are going to do and work on the data. And last but not the least, the experts, right? The BI experts who's going to give a thought leadership for your organization in terms of time, cost, budget, etc. In terms of process, while it looks very simple, but data collection is where it will take maximum time, right? People will not give you data. There are a lot of databases. IT guys will say, oh my God, it's going to take a lot of time, and so on and so forth. So once you are up against the data collection, you solve those problems, then the remaining is much more easier. The data transformation, information dissemination, and trigger-based escalation. These things are much more simpler. In terms of technology, some of the things, and these are very commonly, these are not high-end. This is something that we all are already using, the R's and the Pythons and the Power BI. If we have to integrate all these three, the people, process, and technology under one pillar and create a center of excellence for GCCs, I think our value will be telling for our parent organization. Because I can assure you, even your parent organization, they might have an analytics department, but to the level of data that you have, they might never have. Because you're the ones who are going to process all the data part in your GCCs day in, day out. And this is a suggested model, right? How as Nexdigm, we've done it to many of our clients, wherein we help our clients in terms of the planning process, in terms of the roadmap, resource planning with their business leaders, not only GCC, with the parent organizations, and help them set up and run, which means we show them how to deliver projects, how the delivery and the value will look like, and after 14 months, it's for the organization to run their own, right? So we kind of give them a jump start through our resources, through our technology, etc., and then it's for them to take over to the next level. This is how the typical roadmap looks like. So how does the future of technology, for GCC in particular look like, right? So in terms of, let's say if you took a 2030 or 2040, I would say a maximum number of humans will be replaced by technology. Either we like it or hate it, that's how the reality is going to be. Algorithms going to replace analytics. Technology will be in the front play. And therefore, we need to start preparing for those kind of future models today, right? And the planning also has to be the parent organizations, because somewhere we need to be part of the strategic thought leadership in our organization versus a GCC, pure data center, right? I think that's a transformation that I'm looking at. If we're able to contribute today to our parent organization, I'm very sure not only will we be able to scale up GCC, but you will also be ensuring that your organization still is part of the future Fortune 500. Otherwise, who knows, it might not be, it might be wiped off, right, totally. So with that, I have a couple of questions. What do you think, right? It's a question for the audience. Role of technology, digital transformation in the parent organization, right conversation with your parent organization, right investment, and market relevance. Which one of these you think is, you guys have done it, or you think is relevant, right? So it's a question for each one of you. Anybody wants to comment, more than happy. I know maybe I would have taken a couple of more minutes, right? Yeah.
We'll take one question. Do we have any questions?
Only one question, yeah. Is it the post-lunch session or the questions are too tough? Yeah, please. I mean,
With the organization.
so if you could elaborate, when you say right conversation.
I mean, as I was explaining the other one,
Yeah.
you know, if you do a proactive conversation to see where they are leading into, and then you align your technology, your map, your cost all to it. So, I mean, I believe in the conversation with the executives.
And in a day-to-day, I mean, just out of curiosity, how easy is to have the right conversation with the parent organization?
See, the challenge is, you know, it's a type of conversation you're having. In day-to-day, it's an operational conversation. Then you go on a weekly at a management level, then you go at executive stakeholders. So, but you need to have that, because if you talk to transactional people, they give you some insights, seeing that where is failing, so you try to fix that. When you look at what is it delivering for the function, then that's a different. Then you talk at the organization, what's your roadmap, as you said, you know, be ready for the future. So that's what I believe.
No, I totally agree, but I thought maybe give others a chance. One more question from the audience. Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Please give him a huge round of applause.
Thank you.